Hello, TVNC team managers. In this segment, we are going to talk about the nuts and bolts of getting started with your team. First, we're going to talk about the roles of the team manager. You'll find that you have many jobs as the team manager. The first one being the creativity stimulator. So you'll have all kinds of tools that you can use with your team to help them make their ideas more creative. You'll also be an educator, in that you'll help them learn about their challenge, learn about tools that they can use, and learn how to do research to find out more about the topic for their challenge. You'll also be the challenge expert. The challenge, so that to make sure that your team understands the challenge and is working towards their goal. You'll be an interference deflector, making sure that nobody else has any input to the challenge ideas and the work that's being done or the solution. And most important of all, you're going to be the chief safety officer. You have to make sure that your team is safe at all times. So basically, you are a facilitator. You're not a team member. Your ideas are not going to be used, but you're there to facilitate, to make sure that the team stays on track and that they're getting along. Before you start, there are a number of things that you need to make sure that you do. If you have a coordinator at your school or your district, you need to make sure that that person knows about your team and has a list of your team members. You will have to get a team number in order to get access to the challenge materials. So you need to know how you're going to get this. If you have a district coordinator, you'll get your team number from that person. If you're not getting sponsorship from your district, you may be responsible for purchasing your team number yourself. Make sure you're aware of any background check requirements your district or school might have before you get started, and be sure to get that done. You need to sign up for the newsletter, because the newsletter is going to have a lot of helpful hints and information about upcoming events and deadlines in the region. You'll want to sign up for training on the website calendar for each training that you plan to attend, and try to do that on a timely basis before the deadline. Make sure you set up your website accounts, both with the DI Inc. website and the TVNC state website, to get your team number and to register your team for the tournament. The first meeting you're going to have will be with the parents. In that meeting, you'll want to get several things done. You're going to decide on a regular meeting time and day that fits with everybody's schedule on the team. You're going to make sure you talk to the parents and the team members about the commitment and the expectations. This is a regularly scheduled meeting, and there's a whole team of people who will be depending upon everybody to be there. You need to discuss interference rules and have everybody sign the interference contract, stating that only the team's ideas will be incorporated into their challenge solution. A good idea is to set up a snack rotation. Each parent should be responsible at some point in time for providing snacks for team meetings, snacks being one of the most important things you'll do at your meetings. For your challenge solution, you'll have supplies that will have to be acquired. Some will have to be purchased. Some will just come from items you already have on hand. So decide up front how much money you think that you'll need from each team member, and be sure to collect that beforehand. The regional tournament is February 24th. It's very important that every parent understands that that is the tournament day, and they have that on their calendar, and they are not scheduling anything else for that day. Also make them aware of when the workshop dates and costs are. That has been posted to our calendar on our website, so you can get that information there. They're not required, but they're very useful for the success of your team. And make sure that you have a contact list and know the best method of communication with your team members and your team parents, because that's going to become important as the season goes on. You might decide that texting is the best way to communicate, perhaps a Yahoo group or something like that. but make sure that you have a good method of communicating with the parents and the kids on your team. So one of the things that you will do before at the parent meeting is set the date for the first team meeting. So this is a suggested agenda for your first team meeting with your team. There are other suggestions. You can find some information on our website under team meetings on the resources page. But if you look at this, it has a lot of flexibility on amounts of time that you use for each category. In the beginning, you're always going to have time that you use to get to know each other for team building exercises. And then you always need to incorporate instant challenge practice into your meetings. And in the beginning, you're going to be reading challenge previews or watching the team's challenge preview videos, or possibly even looking at the first looks, which are posted on our website, to get familiar with the basics of this year's challenges. You don't want to delve into the detailed challenges right off the bat because it's kind of information overload. You'll discuss the challenge previews and determine which ones you want to review further. That's important because there are 6 challenges. They're pretty lengthy. So some of them you can probably eliminate right off the bat just by reading the first looks or the challenge previews. Then you also want to set your next meeting time and adjourn. Keep in mind, team managers, that one of your big jobs is planning these meetings. So you need to pick out the agenda that best suits your where you are in the season and plan around that. Remember to take really good notes about what decisions have been made and what decisions still need to be made before you wrap everything up for the next meeting. This agenda was found in the roadmap on page 23, and there are a lot more agendas out there. We'll review that in just a minute. So let's review. At the first team meeting, most competitive team meetings start out at 1.5 to 2 hours. Rising Stars meetings are a little shorter, 1 to 1.5 hours, depending on the age of the kids. All of the roadmap agendas allow for flexibility for each task. So you may look at those agendas and think that would take me 3 hours to do that, but you don't have to spend that much time on every single activity. You can refer to the team building video for more ideas for bringing your team members together as a cohesive team. And you can also refer to the Team Challenge First Looks, which, as I said earlier, are posted on our website. Subsequent meeting agendas have also been included in the same section of the roadmap. And each one of those agendas is for a different stage in the DI season. You'll have early challenge requirement identification and planning, then finalizing planning and beginning to create a solution, all the way through to reviewing the experience after you've presented at the tournament. At each point, there's also a section that has benchmarks that gives you a great idea of where you should be at each point in the season. And that gives you a really good idea of whether or not you're on track. Team manager survival is very important. It can seem to be kind of a long season. So here are some tips to make sure that you're handling things well. Know your workspace and your supply area. If you are doing this out of your home, you need to have a place set aside where you're going to work, and understand and make sure that the kids understand what your rules are regarding leaving that workspace clean at the end of meetings. Plan ahead for your trainings, for your meetings, and for the workshops. Make sure when they are and when the deadlines are. Don't be afraid to ask for help. You have a lot of people here in the region who want to help you. And don't get hung up on the tournament. Make sure the kids are enjoying themselves. They're not going to want to come back. They may not even want to finish the season if it's not fun. So above all, this needs to be fun for both you and the kids on your team. Make sure you read everything as much as you can, the rules, the roadmap, the challenge. clarifications, and the newsletters, and be aware of the deadlines. All of that will make the season much easier. So that's it for Team Manager Nuts and Bolts.